we ready to go? Mr. Villegas, are we ready to go? Yeah? Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Ventura County Air Pollution Control Board to order. And I think first we have the roll call. And who's doing that for us this morning? Good morning.
Councilmember Carmen Ramirez.
Here.
Supervisor Linda Parks. Here. Supervisor Steve Bennett. Here. Councilmember Brian Brennan.
Present.
Supervisor Peter Foy.
Here.
Supervisor Kathy Long. Here. Councilmember Mike Morgan.
Here.
Councilmember Jonathan Sharkey.
Present.
Councilmember Doug Tucker.
Present.
Supervisor John Zaragoza.
Here.
Okay, we certainly have a quorum. Next up, our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our nation. Please join me in saluting our flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the meeting? I was not present, so I will look for someone else to make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Second item, agenda review. Is there any discussion about changes or additions to our agenda? Hearing none. Do you have one?
Madam Chair,
Supervisor?
I think there was a request made that if we could look at item 11 being continued to a different agenda, just in the interest of time, because of the board, we're backed up, so.
Okay, is that the study session
Yes.
on light-duty vehicles?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, no opposition? All right, that is the order. Going on, any other items on the agenda to change? Hearing none, we'll proceed. The next item, board comments. Any comments from the board?
I have one.
Supervisor Parks?
Thank you. Friday, the South Coast Air Quality Management District passed a proposed rule, which I guess is now a rule, that requires notification to the district for drilling and fracking is incorporated, and what kind of toxic air pollutants come from that. And I'm just wondering, it would be helpful to get a report back from you at our next meeting about the rule that they passed, and if we are able to look at doing the same here.
Absolutely, we can provide that in one of the June board meetings. It might have to go to the second one just for staff time, but we'll have it definitely to you for the June meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, do you have time to go through and write rules like this, or what? I mean, this is a lot of, because don't we already have this? You said the air quality, isn't South or whatever doing their own rule and doing this whole thing anyway? Looking at all this?
Yes, they are. I did have the opportunity to speak to Barry Wallerstein both this morning. He gave me a call. He's the director of the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and last Thursday. And he did mention to me, he goes, Mike, you're going to be able to look at my study and determine if you need to change any of your rules. So we're going to be getting that information.
So it sounds like, I understand where Supervisor Parks is coming, but there's no reason for us to duplicate something. If they're already going to do the work, then we can take a hard look at it after it comes back, right?
There's a good argument made for that, certainly, that we could get the information from South Coast. They're going to study whether or not there are air impacts related to hydraulic fracturing.
Exactly, and then try to regulate or just try to come up with something that works for us. But I understand what you're
I'm just looking at, come back with a report on what theirs does.
Okay, what theirs does. Okay, yeah.
And the applicability of doing that here in Ventura County.
Okay, that's what I just didn't want. I thought we were talking about writing a report.
No,
I just didn't want to be in that position of writing or doing anything.
I think it's important for us to have that information.
Yeah.
Absolutely, certainly.
Okay,
we
so
can do that.
Yeah, you just kind of give us a
back.
review then. Okay.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, any other comments from the board members? Yes.
Apologize. Just real quick, I just wanted to, last night there was a fire in Fillmore, and I wanted
to take the opportunity to thank the county board of supervisors as well as the county emergency services. It was actually an incredible response. We got the fire put down probably by midnight, canceled our evacuation, and no injuries. So it was actually a bad situation that turned out very well. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you guys.
Very good. Yes, very good. Thank you for that comment. Always appreciated our public servants doing that important work. Moving on to our regular agenda items. Item 7, public hearing regarding adoption of proposed amendments to Rule 42, permit fees. Mr. Villegas.
Yes. Good morning, Chair Ramirez, members of the board. I'm Mike Villegas, Air Pollution Control Officer. This slide shows the actual health and safety code provisions that allow the district to assess fees to cover the costs related to working with permitted stationary sources. It's also the piece of legislation that is always cited when the state adopts a new mandate as a reason for not providing any funding to the air districts, as the districts have authority to seek fee revenue through their permitted sources. Currently, we have 1,385 sources on permit, and we notified each one of these facilities of today's public hearing along with the workshop and advisory committee meeting. These fees cover more than just permitting. They also cover source test observation, our inspection program, where we have 9 field inspectors going out to check every facility at least once a year, our enforcement program, which includes operating our hearing board, our planning efforts, which include developing an air quality management plan, strategy development, which are our control measures to reduce emissions, and of course inventory, which is critical for the computer modeling, which would actually give us an accurate estimate of when we can actually attain the federal air quality standards. Of course, it also covers rule development overhead, and that's people like me, management team. This slide shows the main sources of revenue for the district. The big ones are the DMV fees at 38%, the federal grant at 16.6%, and unfortunately that piece of the pie keeps getting smaller, and permit fees at 35.5%. This slide really details one of the methods we've used to control costs to keep our fee increases quite modest. And bottom line, in the past 16 years, the district has reduced staff by nearly a third. I took over the district in 2002. We had 64 full-time equivalent staff, and today we're standing at 50 full-time equivalents. So we've done a good job of tightening our belts. When we look to the future to determine whether or not we need a fee adjustment, we look at a 5-year projection. Our current operating budget, excluding contingency, is approximately $7.7 million. To estimate future expenditures, we looked at keeping our staff at a conservative level of 50 full-time equivalents, and we grew the cost of salaries and benefits by 2% a year, basically to cover the increase in pension obligations. Using those assumptions, over the next 5-year period, we projected a net deficit of $1.5 million, or roughly $300,000 per year. I'd also like to point out that since the last time we increased fees, which was 2 years ago, the California Consumer Price Index has increased by 6.1%. What we're proposing today, in light of the information I just provided you, is to increase our permit renewal fees by a modest 3%. For the 934 facilities that pay the minimum fees, this is an increase of only $16 a year. The proposal would increase the district's revenue by a total of $66,000. I also provided you a letter from Oxnard Lemon Association where they definitely asked the district to look at other cost-cutting measures in lieu of fees, and our response where we let them know that we're looking at many cost-cutting measures. As a matter of fact, one of the items before the standing committee is looking at a possible building purchase, and we're looking at potential savings of $300,000 per year by purchasing a building versus staying in our current lease.
Mike, can I ask you, I know, I mean, looking at your charts and stuff, you've done a tremendous job. We always compliment you on how you run your budget. And this 3% minimal, it's at $16 per average permittee.
For the people paying the minimum, yes.
Yeah, but this person over at the Oxnard Lemon Company, a little bit larger than the average, or is that his going to be $16, or is it, do we have any idea what that, you think that might be?
I'm not sure. I have to tell you, I'd have to get back to you on that.
But it's probably more than $16.
I would think so, yes.
But you're talking about it could increase his cost, maybe $100, a couple $100? But it's not thousands or something?
They're a smaller facility.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that's what I thought. He's not real large. I don't
No.
know him, but I think I know what it is, but I don't think it's a big deal.
No.
But I was just curious, when we say it's 16, because we could have somebody that barely does anything, and we average us across, and so sometimes these have an impact on some of these people. But I know we've done a tremendous job to manage this budget and try to keep it under control but I was just curious how it affects him personally, that's all.
And just to remind you, just at the
Say-
last board meeting, we eliminated the supervising air quality chemist, which saves, we're looking at $66,000 in revenue enhancements, but we just cut $127,400 out of our budget by eliminating that position. So, and just in closing, the advisory committee reviewed this meeting. We had one attendee. We had no attendees at the workshop, and we had one attendee there. Same basic comment as Oxnard Lemon. It was a small water agency. And the advisory committee voted 6-3 for the adoption of these proposed rule revisions. That's all I have. I'll be happy to take questions.
Questions by board members? Yes.
And I don't know if you do this, but if you were to say, compared to the three counties that surround us, LA, Kern, and Santa Barbara, how do our fees compare? Or are these all?
They would be close to, San Luis is a little lower than us. We'd be very competitive with Santa Barbara, possibly a little lower. It's very difficult to compare with Santa Barbara. They have a lot of different fees to apply that apply to facilities beyond permit fees, whereas we have.
We limit our number of fees, and is that what you're saying now?
Yes,
Yeah, they make money other ways.
they do.
Okay, all right, I appreciate it, thanks.
Supervisor Long?
I was just going to move the recommended action.
I do have a speaker card here.
Okay, I'll
so-
hold off then.
Okay. I just want to clarify, Mr. Villegas, we have one comment in opposition, correct?
That's true.
Nothing else? No other written comments?
No other written
Phone
comment.
calls?
We had one attendee at the advisory committee, and as I said, their comment was very similar to
Okay.
look at other cost-cutting measures.
Do you have a speaker card from Sandra Burkham? Maybe you can correct me. I can't quite read it. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. My name is Sandra Burkhart. I'm with Western States Petroleum Association. We're a nonprofit trade association that represents some of the largest oil and gas producers and refiners in California and 5 other western states. I wanted to first thank Mike Villegas for his transparency with respect to this rule. He contacted us early on and let us know about this potential impacted fee. And I appreciated the fact that he had the 2 public comment periods, the workshops. And I have reached out to our WISPA members, and I've contacted those that would be most affected by the fee. And although for some of our members it will be larger, in the thousands, I will let you know that we understand that sometimes it's the cost of doing business out here in Ventura County and certainly in California. And therefore, after polling our members, we support the fee increase. We understand it's necessary. So I just wanted to let you know today that WISPA members do support the increase. And again, to thank Mike Villegas for his transparency during the process.
It's good of you to take the time to come and let us know that. Thank you.
I agree, it's not usually people do that, so thank you.
Thank you. No other speakers have submitted comment cards, so I think at this point we close the public hearing?
Yes.
Yes, is there a motion to close the hearing?
Move to close public hearing.
All in favor? Any other comments from board members?
Mr.
Morgan?
Mr. Chairman, I felt the same way Mr. Foy did. I'd like to find out how that impacted them. But if it's not that significant, I guess we're okay. And she's agreeing with Mike's recommendations also, so I guess we can move forward.
All right. Is there a
Madam
motion?
Chair, my motion is to support the staff recommended action. I think years ago we had lots of discussion about if we put off doing fee increases, then we're looking at down the road a significant bump for whatever operational reasons. So we're better off to manage this year to year as best we can. And I think that we all know our staff's done a great job in trimming where needed and managing well. So support.
There's a second from Supervisor Bennett. So we'll have the vote. Do we do a roll call? Or do we just, all right. All those in favor of of moving the recommended items?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. Item 8, receive and file the new source review rule annual report, Rule 26.11.
This is the annual New Source Review report required by our Rule 2611. New Source Review is the program that handles new and modified sources in Ventura County. So if someone wanted to bring in a new facility into this county, for example, there's 2 requirements that apply. Best available control technology, which would minimize the emissions to the maximum extent technically feasible, and then offsets, because even after you put controls on, the best controls available, you have still some increment of emission increase. And they're offset using what's called emission reduction credits. Under California law, these emission reduction credits have to be surplus. That's to say they exceed all air quality requirements at the time they're banked. The federal EPA has a policy that says they need to be surplus at the time they're used. And if you really think about the federal policy, the issue it creates and the regulatory uncertainty it creates is the fact that you really don't know the value of the credits in the bank until you actually want to use them. And that creates some real issues for the regulated community. Our district and a few other districts throughout the state have established what's called an equivalency program, where we showed that our rule, which implements both the state and federal programs, on the whole is more stringent than the federal program. And I'm happy to say, once again, we've been able to demonstrate that equivalency, and we can provide this regulatory relief should a new major modification occur or a new major source move into the county. That's all I have. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. So we don't need a motion on that. Or do we make a motion to receive and file? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, hearing no opposition, that's the order. Item 9, approval of grant funding up to $59,889 to replace all 12 compressed natural gas tanks on 3 natural gas fueled school buses, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Chair Ramirez, members of the board, Stan Cowan, Air Quality Engineer. This is a grant for Hueneme School District to replace their CNG compressed natural gas tanks on 3 of their school buses for the amount of $59,889. This grant award is awarded under the guidelines of the State Air Resources Board's Lower Emission School Bus Program, and this is the first and only request we have received for this type of grant request. The CHP requires that every 15 years these tanks be replaced for safety reasons. The funding source for this is a $2 DMV fees, AB 923, which was made eligible for this program effective January 1st, 2012. That was one of the things that they made eligible to use the $2 DMV fees. We'll use a standard grant agreement for this project, and if funded, the emission reductions over the next 10 years, about 5.5 tons of NOx, 2.5 tons of ROC, 40 tons of carbon monoxide, and a 20% reduction in greenhouse gases. The new grant agreement will require Hueneme School District to operate these CNG buses, which are very, very clean fueled vehicles, to operate for at least 5 years. We ask that you approve the auditor controller to process the accounting transaction and authorize the APCO to sign the grant agreement. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, so that is approved. Item 10, approval to cancel the existing Department of Motor Vehicles electric vehicle grant, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, this is a project for electric vehicle charging stations, which I've seen you bringing back every board meeting, but it's a very active program. And this one is for the Camarillo Metrolink station. Was originally the $10,000 grant award was assigned or was approved for VCTC, Ventura County Transportation Commission, and we received a letter from their executive officer, Darren Kettle, said they didn't have the staff to administer this program. And so fortunately the city of Camarillo stepped up. and offered to work with us on this program. We're in contact with Ken Matsuoka, who's the Camarillo principal civil engineer for the city. Camarillo has been a very strong supporter for electric vehicles, as demonstrated by the charging station currently at the Premium Outlet Mall. The co-funding for this project, which will pay for the equipment cost, is from the California Energy Commission, the APCD grants based on DMV fees, which are used for mobile source emission reductions, and the grant agreement as part of this request between the City of Camarillo and APCD must be approved, as well as authorizing the APCO to sign this agreement for the district. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? I'd like to thank Camarillo for stepping up. Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, it's done. Okay, we've continued item 11, so we go on to item 12.
Wait. I don't think you did 11.
We continue.
Oh, we continue, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Unanimous approval to cancel May 14th meeting. Okay. Well, if we need to, we'll call a special meeting. This is the time for public comment. Does anyone in the audience, or I have no speaker cards, anyone need to make a public comment at this time? Hearing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, you guys can get something to eat now.
Yeah, we did good.